The invitation. Commander Zara Voss stood at the observation deck of the Terran Defense Station, watching the holographic display flicker with incoming messages. Each one carried the same desperate tone, the same pleading undertone that had become so familiar over the past 6 months. "Commander!" Lieutenant Jake Morrison called from the station, his voice tight with barely contained amusement. "We got another one. This time it's from the Kytherian High Council." Zara turned, her green eyes sparkling with what could only be described as predatory satisfaction. "Oh, let me guess. They're finally ready to accept our terms." Jake's fingers danced across the holographic interface, bringing up the transmission. The image of a tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms materialized before them. The creature's usual arrogant posture was nowhere to be seen. Instead, it practically groveled as it spoke. "Esteemed humans of Earth," the alien began, its voice trembling through the universal translator. "The Kytherian High Council humbly requests, no, begs for your immediate assistance in our war against the Vorthan Empire." Zara let out a sharp laugh. "Begs? That's rich coming from the same species that called us primitive warmongers just 8 months ago." The transmission continued, the alien's desperation growing more apparent with each word. "We know we have disagreed in the past about your methods, but the Vorthans have broken through our outer defenses. They've decimated the Altrian fleet. The Nexus Coalition has fallen. We are the last free system standing, and we cannot hold much longer." "Turn it off," Zara commanded, waving her hand dismissively. The hologram vanished, leaving the command center in relative silence. The soft hum of the station systems filled the air, punctuated only by the occasional beep from monitoring equipment. "Ma'am," Jake ventured carefully, "they're offering us full membership in the Galactic Senate. Voting rights, trade privileges, the works." Zara's smile widened, but it held no warmth. "The same Senate that voted to exclude us? The same one that said humanity was too violent, too unpredictable to be trusted with advanced technology." She walked to the central command chair, her boots clicking against the metal floor. "Tell me, Lieutenant, how long did they debate our application?" Jake checked his files quickly. 14 minutes, ma'am. They spent more time discussing cafeteria menu changes." 14 minutes, Zara repeated, settling into her chair. "To dismiss an entire species. To condemn us as nothing more than savage beasts who happen to stumble upon faster-than-light travel." The doors of the command center hissed open, and Dr. Elena Reyes entered, her medical uniform crisp despite the long hours she'd been working. Behind her came General Marcus Stone, his weathered face bearing the kind of expression that had intimidated enemy commanders across 3 star systems. "Commander," Elena said, her voice carrying a slight Spanish accent, "I've been monitoring the galactic news feeds. The casualty reports are staggering." "How staggering?" Zara asked, though her tone suggested she already knew. "The Altrian Third Fleet, completely destroyed. The Nexus Coalition lost 60% of their ships in the last engagement. Conservative estimates put total casualties at over 2 billion across 12 systems." General Stone stepped forward, his hands clasped behind his back. "The Vorthans aren't just winning. They're annihilating everything in their path. No prisoners, no mercy. They're turning this into a war of extinction." Zara leaned back in her chair, her expression thoughtful. "And now they come to us. The savage humans. The violent primitives who aren't civilized enough to join their precious galactic community." "Commander," Jake said hesitantly, "there's something else. The Vorthans have been broadcasting their own messages to Earth." This caught Zara's attention. "Show me." The hologram flickered to life again, this time displaying a creature that looked like a cross between a shark and a mantis. Its black eyes held an intelligence that was both alien and terrifyingly familiar. "Humans of Earth," the creature spoke, its voice a harsh rasp that seemed to scrape against the air itself. "I am War Leader Crix of the Vorthan Empire. We have heard of your reputation, your enthusiasm for conflict. We offer you a choice." The creature leaned forward, its mandibles clicking with what might have been amusement. "Join us and share in the glory of conquest. Continue to cower behind your star system's borders, and you will share the fate of all the other inferior species we have encountered." The transmission ended. leaving the command center in stunned silence. Dr. Reyes was the first to speak. "They're threatening us." "No," Zara said slowly, her voice carrying a dangerous edge. "They're challenging us. There's a difference." General Stone's weathered face cracked into what could generously be called a smile. "Commander, I've been in this business for 35 years. I've seen a lot of enemies make a lot of threats. But I've never seen anyone stupid enough to issue an ultimatum to humanity while we're holding all the cards." "All the cards?" Elena asked. Zara stood, walking to the tactical display that showed the current state of the war. Red markers indicated Vorthan positions, while blue showed the rapidly shrinking territory of the Galactic Alliance. "Doctor, how long have we been developing our new weapon systems?" "The quantum disruption array has been operational for 6 months. The temporal displacement cannons finished testing 3 weeks ago, and the psychic amplification network." Elena paused, looking uncomfortable. "That's been ready for 2 months, but the ethical implications." "Ethics?" Zara laughed, the sound sharp and bitter. "They didn't worry about ethics when they excluded us from their precious alliance. They didn't consider ethics when they refused to share their medical technology that could have saved millions of human lives." She turned to face her officers, her expression fierce. "They called us monsters. They said we were too violent, too unpredictable. They were afraid of what we might do if we were given access to their technology." The tactical display shifted, showing projections of human fleet movements. Unlike the desperate, chaotic patterns of the alien fleets, the human formations moved with deadly precision. "Well," Zara continued, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow filled the entire room, "it's time to show them exactly what monsters look like when they finally decide to join the party." Jake cleared his throat nervously. "Commander, our fleet is ready. All ships are at battle stations. Admiral Chen reports that the 7th Fleet is in position at the edge of Vorthan space. And the special projects." General Stone stepped forward, his voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. "The Midnight Protocol is active. Ghost Squadron is in position. And the Omega Contingency," he paused, meeting Zara's eyes. "The Omega Contingency is ready to deploy on your order." Zara walked to the communication console, her fingers hovering over the controls. "Open a channel to the Galactic Alliance. All frequencies." The system hummed to life, and Zara knew that her words would reach every surviving ship, every refugee station, every hiding place where the remnants of galactic civilization clung to life. "This is Commander Zara Voss of the Terran Defense Force," she began, her voice carrying across the void of space. "For months, you have begged us to join your war. You have offered us rewards, promised us recognition, pleaded for our help." She paused, letting her words sink in across a dozen star systems. "But you seem to have forgotten something important. You excluded us from your alliance because you feared our nature. You called us primitive, violent, unpredictable. You were terrified of what we might become if we were given access to your technology." Her voice hardened, carrying the weight of accumulated grievances and long-simmering resentment. "You were right to be afraid, because we didn't need your technology. We didn't need your approval. We didn't need your permission. We built our own weapons, developed our own strategies, and prepared for the day when the galaxy would finally understand what it means to wake a sleeping giant." The transmission crackle was static, but her words came through clearly. "The Vorthans think they're conquerors. They think they understand war. They're about to learn the difference between conquest and annihilation, between victory and absolute, total, uncompromising devastation." She leaned closer to the microphone, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than any shout. "You wanted monsters? You've got them. The Terran Defense Force is officially entering this war. We estimate it will take us exactly 3 hours to end it." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in absolute silence. Dr. Reyes was the first to speak. "Commander, are you sure about this? The ethical implications." Zara turned to face her, and Elena took an involuntary step back at the expression in her superior's eyes. "Doctor, they made their choice when they decided we weren't worthy of their precious alliance. They made their choice when they refused to share technology that could have saved human lives. They made their choice when they let this war spiral out of control, rather than accept our help. She gestured to the tactical display, where the red markers of Vorthan forces seemed to pulse with malevolent life. And the Vorthans made their choice when they threatened Earth, when they assumed we were cowards hiding behind our borders, when they offered us the privilege of kneeling before their empire. General Stone stepped forward, his voice carrying decades of military experience. "Orders, Commander?" Zara looked at each of her officers in turn, seeing her own determination reflected in their faces. They had all lived through the humiliation of rejection, the frustration of being dismissed by species who had never faced a real existential threat. "Signal the fleet. Operation Reckoning is a go. All ships, all weapons, all protocols. We're going to show the galaxy exactly what happens when you underestimate humanity." She walked to the observation window, looking out at the stars that had once seemed so distant, so unattainable. Now they were within reach, and soon they would witness something that would be remembered for millennia. "And General," she added, her voice carrying a note of anticipation that sent chills down everyone's spine. "Yes, Commander? Make sure every species in the galaxy is watching. I want them to see exactly what they rejected. I want them to understand the magnitude of their mistake." The command center erupted into activity as orders were transmitted across the human fleet. Ships that had been hidden in the shadows of space began to move, their weapon systems charging with energies that defied conventional physics. In 3 hours, the war would be over, but the lesson would last forever. The reckoning. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the TDF Vengeance, watching the tactical display with the calm satisfaction of someone who had been planning this moment for years. Around her, the bridge crew worked with the efficient precision that had become humanity's trademark in the years since their exclusion from galactic society. "Admiral," Captain Rex Murphy called from the weapons station, his Australian accent thick with anticipation. "All ships report ready. The quantum disruption array is fully charged. Temporal displacement cannons are online, and the psychic amplification network is broadcasting on all frequencies." Sarah nodded, her gray eyes reflecting the blue glow of the tactical display. "Time to contact, Captain." Vorthan fleet detected at the edge of sensor range. Approximately 4,000 vessels, including their flagship dreadnought. They're moving in standard attack formation. Sarah laughed, the sound carrying no humor whatsoever. Standard attack formation. How quaint. The bridge doors hissed open, and Commander David Park entered, his cybernetic arm gleaming under the bridge lighting. Behind him came Dr. Lisa Wong, her expression a mixture of excitement and barely contained terror. "Admiral," David reported, his voice carrying the mechanical precision of someone who had replaced parts of himself with advanced technology, "Ghost Squadron is in position. They're completely invisible to Vorthan sensors. On your command, we can hit them from 17 different angles simultaneously." Dr. Wong stepped forward, her hand shaking slightly as she held her tablet. "Admiral, I need to stress again that the psychic amplification network is completely untested at this scale. The psychological effects on the enemy could be extreme." Sarah turned to face her, eyebrow raised. "Extreme how?" "The simulation suggests that prolonged exposure to human psychological warfare techniques, amplified and broadcast directly into their minds, could cause permanent mental damage, mass insanity, complete psychological breakdown, species-wide trauma that could last generations. And the downside is?" Sarah asked, her voice deadly calm. Dr. Wong blinked in confusion. "Admiral, I just explained the downside. We could permanently damage an entire species." "Doctor," Sarah said, walking to the central command chair, 8 months ago, I watched the Galactic Senate debate our application for membership. Do you know what the Kytherian representative said about humanity?" Dr. Wong shook her head. He said, and I quote, "Humans are a plague upon the galaxy. They spread violence and chaos wherever they go. They are incapable of civilized behavior and should be contained to their home system for the safety of all rational species." Sarah settled into her chair, her expression growing darker with each word. The Alterian delegate agreed. She said that human aggression was a genetic defect that made us unsuitable for galactic society. The Nexus Coalition representative suggested that we be classified as a restricted species and monitored for signs of expansion. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried across the entire bridge. They didn't just reject us, Doctor. They wanted to imprison us in our own solar system. They wanted to treat us like dangerous animals that needed to be caged. The tactical display updated, showing the Vorthan fleet beginning to spread out as they detected the human ships. Their formation was impressive, covering thousands of cubic kilometers of space with overlapping fields of fire. Admiral, Captain Murphy called, incoming transmission from the Vorthan flagship. Put it through. The view screen flickered to life, showing War Leader Crix in what appeared to be the bridge of a massive vessel. The creature's mandibles clicked with what might have been amusement as it spoke. So, the humans finally emerged from their hiding place. I confess, I am curious to see what all the fuss has been about. The galaxy speaks of you with such fear, such anticipation. Zara stood, straightening her uniform. War Leader Crix, I presume. I am Admiral Zara Chen of the Terran Defense Force. I have a message for you. The alien leaned forward, its black eyes reflecting the bridge lights. Speak, human. Your last word should be memorable. Zara smiled, and every officer on the bridge felt a chill run down their spine. War Leader, you made a mistake. You threatened Earth. You offered us the choice between kneeling and dying. You assumed we were weak, cowardly, hiding behind our borders. She gestured to the tactical display, where the human fleet was now clearly visible. You were wrong. We weren't hiding. We were preparing. Crix's mandibles clicked faster, a sign of agitation. Preparing for what? For this. Zara nodded to Captain Murphy. Execute Operation Reckoning. All ships, all weapons, maximum effect. The universe exploded into chaos. The first wave of human weapons defied every law of physics that the galactic community understood. Quantum disruption arrays tore holes in space-time itself, causing entire sections of the Vorthan fleet to simply cease to exist. Not destroyed, not vaporized, but erased from reality as if they had never been. The second wave was worse. Temporal displacement cannons fired bolts of weaponized time, aging enemy ships into dust in milliseconds, or reversing their timeline until they became raw materials floating in space. But the third wave was what broke the Vorthan fleet's spirit completely. The psychic amplification network activated, broadcasting the collected fears, angers, and violent impulses of humanity directly into the minds of every Vorthan warrior. Creatures that had known only conquest and domination suddenly experienced the pure, undiluted rage of a species that had been rejected, dismissed, and threatened. The effect was immediate and devastating. Vorthan ships began firing on each other as their crews descended into madness. Some vessels simply shut down completely as their operators collapsed under the psychological assault. Others began broadcasting surrender signals in languages that didn't exist, their crews babbling incoherently as human emotions overloaded their alien minds. "My God," Dr. Wong whispered, staring at the readings from the psychic amplification network. They're experiencing every human emotion simultaneously. Love, hate, fear, anger, joy, despair. Their minds can't process it. Admiral Chen watched the tactical display as the Vorthan fleet disintegrated before her eyes. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy for months were now drifting hulks, their crews either dead or completely incapacitated. "Admiral," Captain Murphy called, his voice filled with awe. "Ghost Squadron reports mission complete. They've eliminated the Vorthan command structure. War Leader Crix is dead, along with his entire command staff." Zara nodded, her expression never changing. Time elapsed. 17 minutes, Admiral. Continue the assault. I want every Vorthan ship in the system eliminated. No survivors, no prisoners, no mercy. The human fleet pressed forward, their weapon systems operating with a ruthless efficiency that had made them the most feared force in the galaxy. Ship after ship of the Vorthan fleet was destroyed, their crews never understanding what had hit them. But the humans weren't content with simple destruction. They had learned from the best teachers in the galaxy. Bitter experience and cosmic rejection. The quantum disruption arrays began targeting Vorthan colonies, erasing entire planets from existence. The temporal displacement cannons aged Vorthan star bases until they crumbled into dust. The psychic amplification network broadcast humanity's collective rage across every Vorthan communication channel, driving entire populations insane. Within 2 hours, the Vorthan Empire ceased to exist. Not defeated, not conquered, but completely and utterly annihilated. Every ship destroyed, every colony eliminated, every trace of their civilization erased from the galaxy. And then, in the silence that followed, humanity turned its attention to the survivors. Admiral, Commander Park reported, his cybernetic arm interfacing directly with the ship's communication system, incoming transmissions from across the galaxy. The Galactic Alliance is requesting immediate ceasefire negotiations. Zara's smile returned, cold and sharp as a blade. Put them through. The view screen filled with the faces of dozens of alien species, all of them radiating the same desperate fear that had driven them to finally accept humanity's help. Admiral Chen, the Kytherian representative, spoke, his 4 arms trembling. We wish to thank you for your swift action against the Vorthan threat. Your assistance has been invaluable. Assistance? Zara repeated, her voice carrying a dangerous edge. Is that what you call it? The alien delegates exchanged nervous glances. The Alterian representative, her blue skin pale with fear, stepped forward. Admiral, we know there have been misunderstandings between our species. But surely, now that the crisis is over, we can work together toward a peaceful future. Zara stood, her hands clasped behind her back. Peaceful future. Interesting concept. Tell me, Ambassador, what makes you think we want peace? The question hung in the air like a death sentence. You see, Zara continued, her voice carrying across the transmission to every corner of the galaxy. You made a fundamental error in your calculations. You assumed that exclusion would make us weak, that isolation would make us desperate for your approval. She gestured to the tactical display, where the remains of the Vorthan fleet drifted in space like cosmic debris. You were wrong. Exclusion made us strong. Isolation made us self-sufficient. Rejection made us angry. The alien delegates sat in stunned silence as Zara's words sank in. For 8 months, you begged us to join your war. You offered us rewards, recognition, membership in your precious alliance. But you never offered us what we really wanted. What did you want? The Nexus Coalition representative asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Zara's smile widened, revealing teeth that seemed sharper than they should be. Revenge. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in absolute silence. In the command center of the TDF Vengeance, Admiral Chen turned to her officers. Signal the fleet. Phase 2 of Operation Reckoning is authorized. Target list. Every species that voted against our membership in the Galactic Alliance. Dr. Wong stood, her face pale. Admiral, you can't be serious. They're defenseless now. The Vorthan threat is eliminated. Doctor, Zara said, her voice carrying the weight of accumulated grievances, they had their chance for peace. They chose exclusion. They chose to treat us as dangerous animals that needed to be caged. She walked to the observation window, looking out at the stars that had once seemed so distant. Now they'll learn what happens when you cage a predator for too long. When you finally open the door, you don't get a grateful pet. You get a monster. The human fleet began to move, their weapon systems charging for the next phase of their campaign. Behind them, the ruins of the Vorthan Empire served as a warning to the galaxy. Humanity had finally joined the war, and they had no intention of following anyone else's rules. The war was over. The reckoning had just begun. In exactly 3 hours, as promised, the conflict that had raged across the galaxy for 2 years was finished. But the lesson humanity taught, that day would echo through the cosmos for millennia to come. The galaxy had wanted monsters. Now they had them, and there would be no putting them back in their cage.